Sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to take that one. So we wouldn't even categorise. So listen, we want to hard cap foreign aid at £1 billion for the foreseeable, right? Until Britain's finances are in a position where hard-working bricklayers in this country are not being asked to pay ever more tax. In terms of making it conditional, well, what we would say, as we outlined in Operation Restoring Justice, our deportation plan, we allocated £2 billion specifically for paying foreign nations to take back their illegal migrants. So we wouldn't even call that foreign aid. That's very simple. You know, here's an incentive to take back your illegal migrants in our country so that we can basically ensure that we have proper immigration law here.
Yep. Camilla Tominey, Telegraph.
Morning, thank you. Camilla Tominey for the Daily Tea. Just a personnel question, mindful of the fact that you think there's going to be a general election in 2027, and you've been very critical of the current Chancellor. You've scrapped the tax cuts that Richard Tice wrote into the contract with the people at the last general election. If Zia Yusuf is now crunching the numbers for the announcements you're making today, should we presume that he's your preferred choice for Chancellor over Richard Tice now? Thank you.
Lovely try, but you should... No, it's very good. I mean, no wonder you're so well paid. But I'm just not playing your silly little game, sorry. Right, moving on to the next question. Max Kendix from The Times, who has covered the local government cancellations better than any other journalist.
Thank you. Couple of questions. One on, which was kind of asked before, but would be good to get addressed more fully. Is your aim to go into the next election making a promise not to raise any taxes whatsoever? Are there going to be solid commitments around that, or conversely, do you think there's an area that should be taxed more? And Zia, I wonder, Shabana Mahmood said yesterday, when she was being accused of being divisive by a Lib Dem MP, that she's the one regularly called an effing P word and told to go back home. Is that an experience of racism in public life that you sympathise with?
Yeah, well, look, I've answered this a few times this morning on the morning round. So number one, I deeply sympathise with her for being in receipt of such appalling racism. That must be deeply unpleasant. And look, obviously different politicians have different reasons and motivations for saying and believing different things. I do somewhat take exception to this conflation with, or this association with, concern about immigration, legal and illegal, and racism. I do take exception to that because for, I think, decades now, and I've just been campaigning on this issue for decades, people in this country have voted time and time and time and time again for less immigration. Not because they're racist, not because they're running around shouting the F word or using the P word at people, but because they believe Britain should have borders, they believe in sovereignty, they believe in the rule of law, and they believe that if you pay taxes in this country, you should assume to actually get public services that make sense for you. So it's a subtle thing, and again, I have deep sympathy, of course, for anyone who receives that kind of racist abuse. Lord knows I've received abuse too, just like every frontline politician. But this notion that one should conflate concern about immigration, which, as she did in the chamber yesterday, with such appalling racism, I do have something of an issue with that.
Yeah, Melanie Phillips in your newspaper today makes some very similar points, actually, in a very powerful article. Look, we're a party that believes we need tax cuts, that the tax burden is too high, it's a disincentive. And by the way, I want lots of people moving back to Britain. I want people moving back to Britain who are going to pay lots and lots and lots of tax. Because if you drive away the wealthiest, you drive away the highest taxpayers, which means a potentially higher tax burden for everything else. But I think what we've shown you, or I believe what we've tried to show you over the course of the last few weeks, is that we fully understand that we can't even talk about tax cuts until we get our spiralling debt problem in this country under control. Equally, there needs to be a big change of culture as well when it comes to work, productivity, success, and maybe we should be championing entrepreneurs that do well and make money rather than portraying them as being evil for having done well. So there are some big cultural shifts that are needed as well. No, we want tax cuts. The tax burden is too high. We're committed to doing that, but first, we're showing you that we can make the cuts and do the things that will give us the room.
Can I just say one other thing on that? And it alludes to an earlier question as well, which is that I do think there's something of an underappreciation in the media about the changing financial situation since the last general election. And the country's finances have deteriorated meaningfully, even from the shambolic and deteriorated state they were in as a result of 14 years of Tory government. And if you were to look, and we can have this conversation again the day after the budget, but my assessment is, any reasonable assessment, assuming that Rachel Reeves does not do the things we're proposing here today, sadly, is that after the budget, just to unwind that incremental new taxes that Rachel Reeves has imposed on the British people, the mad inheritance tax changes, including on farmers, a 2% increase in national insurance contributions for employers, the sugar tax, all of these things she's talking about, will be north of £60 billion. And Lord knows we would love an early general election, but by the time we get to the next general election, in all likelihood, my view is that we're going to be at north of £100 billion just to unwind the appalling tax rises that Rachel Reeves would have implemented. So we've got to be straight up with the British people about that.
Absolutely. Jonathan Walker from The Express.
Thank you, Nigel. I think it was Zia this morning highlighted a web page that you've set up for